Good morning, Turfs Up Radio. Wayne Voles, Profits Unlimited, coming to you live from Louisville, Kentucky. Yes, indeedy. Oh, my goodness. Another hump day is underway. Derby week is cruising right along here for us. Mother Nature's been very, very kind to us. We've had rain, but it's been timely, if you will. You guys get it. You understand that. But I know some of you guys have been so lucky with the timeliness of the rain and how much you're getting and all that. And my buddies down there in St. Louis area, they're rocking it out with quite a bit of rain and high wind and the last couple days. So hang in there, you guys out there in that part of the Midwest. It'll all be okay. You all know it, and I know it. It's just a pain in the butt while you're going through it. So, but hang in there. We've been pretty fortunate, like I said, with our weather here in Louisville so far. So we're going to keep our fingers crossed for another day. Another day, another dollar. What? You get a raise? So, but yeah, hey, all joking aside, it's been a good week for us here at WLS. And like I said, we have had rain, but it's been timely. And when it's rained, we got yesterday afternoon. It wasn't, we got to about 2:30 or so before we, had any issues with the weather. So a couple things we had to take and or didn't have to, but we went back on this morning and we were going to respray and get that taken care of for one of our commercial customers, some beds that we took care of. So, but it's all about doing the right thing. You guys understand that. So we got that done, and we're out today doing lawn applications and bed maintenance and some landscaping work. Our mowing is pretty much done for the week. We hammered that out Monday and Tuesday and got a 99% of that done. We got a new one or two that we've put on that we're going to be getting today. But other than that, like I said, we just threw a lot of resources at the mowing side of it with the weather forecast the way it was. And we got a few that will cut again on tomorrow for people that always traditionally, have things going on Derby. So we'll take care of them as always. But hope you guys are having a good week yourself. Appreciate you listening to us here on Turfs Up Radio. And it's hard to believe that we're at the end of April. I mean, here we go. We're 4 months are in the book after the end of the day today. And I hate to say it, but, just a couple months, we'll be halfway through the year. So it's time flies. Time flies when you're having fun. Curious to know what you guys are into, what kind of weather you've been experiencing this week, or more specifically today. What you got going on today? If you're able to be out, if you're working, or if you're not able to get out, I understand that too. So if you got rain going on, but hope everything's going good for you guys. We're going to have Matt Griffin with BAM Weather is going to be on with us here in a little bit and talk to us about what's going on across the country and potentially some weather coming through our area. And but you guys know he covers most of the country for us. So regardless of where you're listening to us, he's really good at helping us all out and sharing his knowledge with us on what their best guess is on what's going to be happening across the country. So they do help us out considerably, as I always say. So I'm looking forward to getting Matt on here in a few minutes. He's going to call in and be on with us for a few minutes. But I also wanted to give one of my friends and competitor, Todd Ackerman, A&B Landscape. They're just down the street from us here, not too far. Big shout out for helping us out yesterday. We were trying to get a yard finished, power seeding it. And yeah, I know. Yeah, power seeding April 30th against better judgment, but we're doing it. We did it. And but anyway, the client wanted to proceed with it, so we were trying to get it done for him. But it's crazy. We'd actually put both of our seeders in the shop for service, and then so we got this add-on job. So David Bowling, another competitor and great friend, he said, "Hey man, just y'all can use ours. That's cool." So went to use his, and we had a little issue with his seeder, and we're like, "Oh my gosh, is this not the jelly of the month club kind of thing? The gift that keeps on giving." Trying to get this 1 yard, one backyard. I mean, this is like 4,000 square feet, okay, y'all. So it's not a big area we're trying to get done here. But so we had an issue with his cedar. So that's two of our own, his, and now Todd Ackerman let us borrow his. So big shout out to having relationships with your competitors, all I can say, and getting help from people that can help you. And certainly we will do the same thing for them and have done the same thing for them with different situations, different equipment. But that's why it's important to have a good relationship with your competitors, or at least some of them. I mean, I know some guys are hard to get along with, some owners are hard to get along with, whatnot. But always try to have some relationships, with some of your competitors. So if you do get into a situation like that, you got somebody you can call on for a little help. And fortunately, David was willing to help us, and then Todd was willing to help us. So we were able to get that done and got it done. So, with that being said, we're going to take a short break before Matt dials in here, and we'll be right back with more Profit Time. Appreciate the text this morning from you guys. Let me know you're out there. Seth, I hear you, man. I knew it was going to be a bad pollen day today. When I got up this morning, my eyes were watering, and not from having a bad dream and crying or anything. It was just I could feel it already in my eyes, man. The pollen, and it was crazy. Speaking of which, Katie's pollen bothering you today? Can you? No, and you know what? I forgot to take I take one of those allergy pills each morning, and I can feel it in both my eyes. I need to get mine, to say the least. And like I said, I woke up this morning, man, and I could just feel it in my eyes. My eyes were watering, man. Right now, my right one's always my worst one for some reason. I have no idea why that is. But anyways, here's Matt. Let's get Matt on here. All right, let's get Matt on here real quick. We lost Matt. Maybe he'll call me right back. Let's see. We'll get him right. He'll call right back. I'm sure he will. Dun, da, da, da. It's not very nice when you hang up on your guest, is it? Goodness gracious. Let's try that. Oh, Matt, it's Wayne. Sorry about that. I guess I hung up on you, buddy. I don't know what happened.
You hate me.
I guess, man. Hey, talk about not even getting a chance, you know?
No kidding. Jeez.
Sorry about that, man.
No
But
worries. No worries.
hey, I appreciate you giving us a call. We've already had a couple questions about weather. So, but anyway, before I get you those, uh, tell us a little bit about what's going on across the country today.
Yeah. So I would say over gosh, the next 3 days are going to be incredibly messy from a rainfall standpoint, from a severe weather standpoint. But certainly some storms we're going to need to talk about here into the forecast. As far as today is concerned, that includes kind of your area too, Wayne. I am concerned about some strong severe storms. Let's kind of cut Indiana in half into northern Kentucky, southern Illinois in particular. I think there could be some afternoon pop-up storms that form. Some of these storms could be strong and severe nature. Wind gusts, hail will be possible. I can't even rule out a tornado. That'll be possible as well heading into this afternoon. It's kind of the finer details which we'll need to continue to fine tune. But in my opinion, towards you, it'd be closer to, let's call it 3 to 7 p.m. would be the main risk window in my opinion.
All right.
But something to watch out for today. Getting into tomorrow, I think there's going to be another, especially in the Ohio Valley, scattered thunderstorms about here, whether you're in Michigan, Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, Illinois, concerned about another round of strong and severe storms, especially I'd say southeastern Indiana, much of Kentucky and much of Ohio, maybe a lone risk for a stronger storm that could extend back into Illinois, into Iowa, off in the plains. You know, today into tomorrow, there'll be some scattered chances. I think, especially getting into Nebraska, northern Kansas, even into the Dakotas, into Iowa over the next 48 hours here.
Same kind of
And then
time frame, like afternoon stuff, or what should we plan for, like from a work standpoint?
I think primarily afternoon. As far as from a work standpoint, Wayne, I do think there are some curveballs here into the forecast. I do think there'll be some rain showers in the morning for you. It's going to
Tomorrow?
depend on yes.
Okay.
It's going to depend on the evolution of some storms off to the west into kind of Missouri and Oklahoma, Arkansas, some of those areas. But in my opinion, you do see some rain showers. Let's call it about 8 to about 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. I do think there'll be some rain showers. After those pass, I do think there's some drier windows there. But once we get to about 3 to 4 p.m., that's why I'm concerned about some scattered storms moving back into the picture there. So
All right.
and some of those can be strong severe in nature and heavy rain as well. So again, a messy forecast, no doubt about it. For some of your listeners who are, gosh, into Oklahoma and Texas here, especially northeastern Texas, probably going to have multiple rounds of some storms. I mean, they're just getting absolutely lit up right now with some heavy rain. There's been heavy rain. I think eventually, as we head over the afternoon, some of the storms in Oklahoma move into the north, into the east, or to the east into northeastern Texas, into Arkansas. So probably some heavy rain can coincide with that for some folks. Into, as we head later today, eastern Oklahoma, Arkansas, and northeastern Texas in particular, and a few stronger storms with that as well. Again, it's messy. There's a lot of rain in the card for about any one location. From the Dakotas, Texas, and to the Ohio Valley. It's just going to be very messy as far as how the totals pan out
Is
here.
this stuff moving on east for the over the weekend? The East Coast side, Pennsylvania and New York and Connecticut and that
Yeah,
West Virginia, or is it just kind of dying out once it passes the Ohio Valley side?
yeah. Thursday night into Friday, I do think there's going to be some scattered showers that move into the U.S. Northeast, West Virginia, north and east, up into Vermont, New Hampshire world, and some light rain showers can bleed east to some of the metropolis areas there getting into Friday morning. Likely going to be some more showers and even some thunderstorms heading into, I'd say, Friday, but especially Saturday, I'd be concerned with along the East Coast with some showers and storms and maybe even a low and risk for severe weather at that getting into Saturday. Let's talk about Saturday, Wayne.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what about yeah.
We've got the Kentucky Derby. Of course, you're kind of locked into the forecast being in the area, but I'm sure everyone has some type of interest there. I do for my wallet's sake, so to speak. But as far as the progression getting into Saturday, my gut says that rain should exit out getting into Saturday morning, late Saturday morning. It should dry out getting into Saturday afternoon. Now, when I talked to you last week, I was pretty confident, and I've been pretty confident, even through, I'd say, about Sunday, Monday, that the rain clears Louisville. What the development that has happened that we noticed from a modeling standpoint is they're trying to pick up more on something called an upper level low. It's kind of a spin in the atmosphere. It's not your typical surface low that has the warm front and the cold front and the L you see on the local news here. It's something that's more rooted up in the atmosphere. But data differs significantly with that. And from my experience, anytime we're dealing with these upper level lows, data is going to be junk, to be quite honest. They're going to have a very bad handle of that. But some data develops that low right overhead Saturday, and it lingers rain chances through the weekend into early next week for you. Other data does not have that upper level low. It has it further to the east, and things clear out. Right now, I'm in the camp that things can clear out for the Derby. Probably some rain showers on Saturday morning. But right now, I think we can be dry. I think we can get some horse racing in as it stands right now. But just need to watch that forecast very carefully.
What's causing this to be repeat day after day after day? Is it just the system not moving, or is it just multiple systems?
That is a great question. So the big part of this is we've got a high pressure in the southeast, kind of off the coast of Florida here, and that's basically reorienting the jet stream and the moisture that flows right over top from about northern Texas into the Great Lakes. And anywhere that jet stream's at, that's where the moisture's at. That's where the systems flow into, and so that's what's sparking this this kind of multi-day rain and storm that we've been dealing with, and that we'll continue to deal with over the next couple of days here. Now, the idea is, especially as we get into Saturday, there's going to be a stronger system, at least aloft, a stronger push of some cooler air, which shifts everything to the east. Now, it's once we get to Saturday, do they cut off that low? Does it get kind of cut off from the flow and it just hangs around, or does it continue to move east along the east coast? That's what's more in question here.
All right.
Of how that evolves. But unfortunately, a little bit more uncertainty than I'd like in terms of the specifics. But just kind of an active setup here over the next couple of days. Lots of rain, storm opportunities.
Do you this pattern that we're in? We had a couple questions as soon as I came on from some like two people actually with different questions. Yeah. It seems like we've had more rain this year. Do you think the wet pattern's going to continue on, not just for the next few days, but is this something that's going to continue on, or do you see a pattern shift?
Yeah, I definitely see a pattern shift here. I think, as however long the rain lasts, right, into perhaps early next week, if that upper level low cuts off into the Ohio Valley, right, that would be a wetter risk in the Ohio Valley and east here. But I do think things start to get drier, especially increasingly so as we head into May, and then as we head into June here. Some of our research years, and again, I've mentioned this, I think the last time I talked to you, a year that followed a similar progression, it would be years like 2012 or 2011.
Yeah, you did mention that.
Where those years, too, at this time, were pretty active. And then they reverted as we got into summer back to dry here. And so, again, that's what our research suggests. That's what the data suggests, too. The data gets dry here as well, with some exceptions. So as we head into kind of the May 7th to 13th period, I do think things can start to dry out in the Ohio Valley, the Great Lakes, and the Northern Plains. Those are the areas I think are drier. The area where there can at least be some better rain opportunities would be the Northern Plains, but I think most areas average out below normal. The exception areas are going to be, for any of your listeners, I would say into Texas, into the Western Plains, the foothills of the Rockies. That's area number one where I think some better rains can kind of linger in that time frame. And then the other area is going to be further to the south and to the east, I would say, from about Georgia, Florida, up to the east coast towards New York. That's probably an area where the rains can be a little bit more consistent during that time frame. Now, as we head in the mid to late part of March, to be honest, I think the pattern is relatively the same. To be honest, I think it kind of stagnates a little bit. And so, again, Ohio Valley, Central Plains on the drier side here, but again, Texas, foothills of the Rockies, and then perhaps the Northern Plains and the Southeast U.S., the rain can be a little bit more consistent there. But as we head into June and July, I think the better rainfall opportunities are going to be kind of sticking into the Southeast U.S., and I think the dryness really starts to rear its ugly face June and July for, let's call it the Western Ohio Valley into the entirety of the plains. And I don't know if you've seen, Wayne, our outlook over on the Clarity app.
Yes.
July is very dry.
I was going to say you had like a fire on it or something, wasn't
it? Yeah. Well, it's a much below normal, and that's Kansas to southern Minnesota and eastern South Dakota.
Yeah.
So I do think the pattern changes. I don't think this is what we're going to be dealing with all summer long. Our research suggests that.
Guy just texted me from around the St. Louis area. Again, he said, could you please turn the water off in St. Louis for him?
Turn the water up?
Off.
Oh, turn the water off. Yeah. They're getting some rain here for sure. But the good news, I just actually talked to a client not long ago That rain should start to exit out of the St. Louis area in about a half hour or so,
Okay.
depending on where he's at in St. Louis. And then he needs to watch closer to 2 to 3 p.m. for more scattered storms to kind of develop in behind this. But if he needs working hours, late morning, early afternoon would be the time to do it.
I got you. Hey, got a quick question on something that you guys put out this morning. I saw about
Okay.
the cicadas coming soon. Katie, my daughter here that works with us, our office manager, she hates those things. Uh, and, but it looks like it's going to be a pretty big comeback for him from what y'all were saying.
I guess I'm not the one who made
Have
that
you? Oh, you
particular
hadn't
post.
seen it yet? Okay, it's
Is that
fairly
on
new.
Twitter?
It just came out like an hour ago. Okay, and
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
talking about the cicadas. Katie's like, oh God.
Oh gosh, I can't stand them either. Especially if they get caught inside your house. They're so loud it hurts your ears.
Yeah, they are
Um,
crazy.
I have heard of some of that. Even before our post we made on Twitter and other social media,
Yeah.
that it was probably going to be a little bit of a larger brood. I think what's a brood 14. I think that's what our post has.
Yes.
Second
Yes.
largest
Yeah.
brood cicada. Last emerged in 2008. So it probably will be a bit loud this summer. As far as the specifics into that, I don't know. I'm not a insectologist. I have no idea how to predict those things, but um, that's what the cicada specialists are suggesting.
Oh
So
my
I'll
God.
let them.
I'm telling you,
I'll let them.
they hate the high pitch of like string trimmers and blowers. And
Oh,
I remember when I was, or they used to, let me put it that way. I hadn't been out in the field in a long time, but I remember when I was out in the field, running a crew, God, and these things would come out. They would just like dive bomb at your equipment, your head, and all. It
ew.
has to be something to do with the pitch of those. But
Yeah, maybe they think it's another cicada
God, I don't know, but
singing at them. I
it's
don't
pretty
know.
bad. Hey, how far
They're
ahead?
nasty.
We had somebody ask too, and if you got quick access to it, that'd be cool. If not,
Yeah.
that's all right.
Uh-huh.
How far ahead are we in on rain in like our market here in Louisville?
That is a great question. If you give me about
Yeah,
2 seconds here, let me see if I can pull that up.
he's like
I
it's
would
actually
say
he's actually a herbicide and trying to think of what the hell herbicide and pesticide distributor. And he said
in even Louisville, you said?
yes, uh-huh.
Okay. So let me pull that
Louisville,
up. In
Nashville area.
Nashville. Okay. Are we talking year to date, month to date?
Year to date, or we and or maybe let's look at spring because I'm sure that's what he's concerned about. Same thing I am is how quickly our pre-emergence getting washed out.
Let's take a look here.
That's the real concern because that's been
So,
pretty crazy. I mean, it just seems like every year we worry about it, but it's spring and it rains, but uh, at,
so the past 60 days, Louisville's about 169% of the normal rain. So you're on about 69% above normal rains in the past 60 days
okay,
for the Louisville area. So you're definitely running a surplus.
yeah,
And the rains, obviously, the next couple of days, although they'll be a bit messy towards Louisville, are going to continue to tack onto those totals. But things should start to dry out. So probably
let's
that's,
hope so.
I was going to say, probably for you, that's probably a good thing. So you don't have to worry about
Yeah,
watering so much, or for, for planning and,
it is. It's a
and
double
crews.
edged. It's
You'll
a
have to
double
water.
edged sword. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Past, I would say year to date here, we're about 174% of normal for the Louisville area.
Oh my. All right. Well, I guess I mean it is what it is, right? You can't do
It is what
anything
it is. I
about
can't
it.
change the past.
You can't. Yeah,
That's right.
you can't change it or cheat the system when it's getting measured, right? So,
That's right.
but
That's
oh
right. But
gosh. Phew, I tell you what. Well, as always, Matt, I certainly appreciate your time and effort here on Turfs Up Radio with us, and us at Wayne's Lawn Service appreciate everything BAM weather does to help us run our business better and more efficiently with great weather. So, um, you guys still got your opportunity for people to sign up, right? Uh,
Yeah, absolutely. Free 7-day trial. Just
okay.
reach out to myself, us, however you want to do it. We'll get you trial set up. It takes less than 5 minutes to do. Absolutely free. No pressure or no credit card. And I think it's worth it at least trying out,
Good.
especially for folks in your industry. So
Oh, absolutely. And for people that we have listening outside the industry, if you've got any interest at all in weather, where it affects your business, uh, BAM, check them out. And I'm not just saying this because Matt's on the radio here with me. I'm really not, man. If weather is part of your daily life, I'm sure golf courses and things like that have to be a big part of your all's business as well.
yeah,
I mean,
we do have a few golf courses for
yeah,
sure. And to be honest, about every bigger golf course that you can think of, they have some type of weather service provider, whether that's us or our competitors. That's vital,
yeah,
for a golf course, not only from maintenance of the turf, but from planning, scheduling, safety of the patrons who go to the golf
yeah.
courses. It's multifaceted there for golf courses. So
I do have. Hey, I got a quick question
yeah,
on the Clarity. I think it's on the Clarity app, but
sure.
anywhere where, and y'all added it a while back, but I just really started noticing it. Honestly,
Okay.
what's the wet bulb thing that y'all showing?
That
Uh,
is a great question. So wet bulb, the whole phrase is wet bulb global temperature. And what that is, it's very similar to like a heat index, right? What it's trying to measure is kind of sensible heat. So not just the temperature, but how that will impact the physiology of a person. And so what the advantage that the wet bulb has over the heat index, which the heat index just takes into account temperature and relative humidity, and that's it. This takes into account wind speed, takes into account moisture, it takes into account sun angle, it takes into account a lot more things, and so it's a lot more complex, but it gives a more sensible reading. There's some threshold for the temperatures that various different government entities have put out, but it's like it feels like temperature. It's just kind of detailing how that can impact. And once you get to a certain threshold, they would recommend doing less and less strenuous work outside.
okay,
Certain temperature thresholds may have, if you have asthma related or breathing problems, you'll start to see some issues
so
once you
with
get
a
to
wet
certain
bulb
temperatures.
number, let's just say all things considered, the heat index would the heat index or a wet bulb temperature be higher or lower on any given day, or should they be to get closer together?
The heat index almost always is going to be higher than the wet bulb temperature. Um,
Okay.
Usually.
Which one
Um,
do we
it,
need to be concerned with as far as team members out in the field more?
I would say for you all, especially anytime you see that wet bulb get to about 87 degrees or higher, um, that's usually when you can start to run into issues.
Okay.
Um, if you have anyone who's a little bit, they've got some problems breathing, um, some asthma type of issues, respiratory issues, uh, maybe as low as 81 degrees. But once you get over kind of 87, that's when it gets really problematic.
All right.
I have a question actually. Is that
Yeah,
relative at all, or is that 87 in Kentucky going to be the same 87 anywhere?
it's going to be the same 87
Okay.
anywhere.
Okay.
Whether you're in the North Pole or South America, all the
Gotcha.
same values.
Okay, cool.
Great question. Yeah.
Good deal. And one more question we had just roll through was
Yeah.
about pollen. When's pollen going to be finished? When are people going to be able to breathe again and get off the Claritin?
I don't know, man. It needs to hurry up because I'm sniffling, I'm coughing. Anytime I go outside, my eyes start watering. It's killing my daughter. She sounds like she's got
Your
some
little
type of
one?
lung issue or something. Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
she's coughing all the time. My wife's same deal. Everybody's sniffing, coughing. It seems like this year. I don't know about you guys, but it seems like it's been really bad this year.
Yeah. It
Are you guys having the same?
Yeah, same. It's really bad. I watched saying before you got on with me today, Matt. I was talking to everybody and said this morning it was. I knew it was going to be bad when I went outside because when I got up this morning, my eyes were already watering in my house, and I
Yeah,
mean, I'm like, this is crazy, man. So
yeah. I don't. Again, those type of questions. I'm not super sure. I'm not a
okay,
someone who studies that.
you're not a
But
pollinologist.
I'm not a pulmonologist. That's the technical term for it.
Well,
Um,
hey, you got our listeners believing you can help us with everything,
oh
man. So,
gosh, I wish I could help with that, man. But I would assume now, since it's so bad now, it has to get better sooner than later. Like, please.
hey,
Um,
that's what we'll go with anyway, right?
yeah, there's my expertise, scientific answer. It's going to get better sooner than later.
All right, buddy.
One,
Hey,
one more quick question. I know it's for next time though, just to something to
Yeah,
think about.
sure.
Kyle is actually talking about he thinks it's getting windier here, and we actually looked some things up, and it said it is getting a little bit windier actually just around the globe. So I don't know if that's something maybe that you know about or you've
give us an
ever
update
thought
next
about, but yeah,
Wednesday.
just something to think on.
Interesting. Okay, I there's a lot around the globe. That's interesting. I do know one thing that we've the it's been very active, at least recently, no doubt about it. I would say the past. I don't know if you guys would agree. I feel like the past 5 years have just been a little bit windier in general, at least versus my general memory.
That's what he
Um,
said.
it's been anytime you get an active weather pattern, you don't have to necessarily get impacted directly by the low pressure, but any kind of low that kind of moves into the area, it's going to greatly impact the wind field. And overall, it has been fairly active. The last 5 years, no doubt, especially this year, has been very active, especially kind of in our neck of the woods. But we've gotten a lot of strong lows this year. Again, they don't have to swing through Kentucky or Indiana to impact the wind field, but the more lows we've had and the more active patterns, it's just going to naturally up those winds. As far as from a global perspective, that I'm not too sure about. I would have to dig into that a little bit more. I suspect maybe a little bit of it is the ocean waters in the Pacific have been very warm over the last few years. And in turn, that helps kind of fuel the jet stream a little bit because it's more juice. And ultimately, those winds aloft, they're up thousands of feet in the atmosphere. But as the systems evolve, eventually some of those winds do mix down. So I suspect that may be kind of um, maybe a background residual impact from just how warm the Pacific's been. Because obviously the jet stream, it comes from west to east. I suspect it could be related to that, but that's something I would have to dig into a little bit more. But I've certainly noticed that myself.
I'd say
It's
that's a
been
pretty
windy. In
solid
fact,
answer for just off the
that's a
top of
good
your head.
answer, man. You can leave it at that if you want.
Yeah.
I mean, I've noticed the winds myself. The last couple of years, it's windy. I mean, we've had clients, who've asked kind of a similar question. Like why is it so windy the last couple of years? I don't
Yeah.
remember it being this windy. A decade ago.
Yeah,
So
we notice it because of our application days, the days that we can apply product, because of wind speed, you know,
right,
and,
exactly.
it just seems like not seems like there has been more of those days where, your customer's saying, why has my yard been sprayed? And you're saying, well, open your window, or walk outside,
Right.
they see the
Yeah.
sun and think it's okay, but they don't realize, now the good side from a business perspective, I guess, is we can stand on one yard and spray three, you know.
Sure. One way to look at it.
But
Um,
oh,
I do think
God.
though, as the pattern starts to get a little warmer and drier, um, that's going to settle in more high pressure, and typically you get under the high pressure, typically less windy. Where it may be a little bit more windy though, is kind of those areas I mentioned, the above normal rain chances, East Coast, Texas, may stay a little bit windier in those areas, unfortunately.
All right, Matt. Well, hey, I'm gonna let you go. I appreciate the bonus time this morning, man. So
Anytime.
all right.
Love
Well,
to chat with you.
we appreciate you guys and love Bam for sure. And hope you have the winner in the Derby, my friend.
I hope so too. Hopefully, my wallet hopes so as well.
Yeah, yeah, true that. All right. We'll talk to you next week.
Yep. Have a good one, Wayne.
All right. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
All right. Bye bye. All right. That is the world famous Matt Griffin with Bam Weather. So those guys are awesome. If you haven't tried them, give them a try. BAMWX.com. That's BAMWX.com. Get in there for your 7-day free trial and know that nobody's perfect. They don't claim to be perfect. They don't ever lead you on to believe that they're perfect, but they sure are pretty daggone good at what they do. All right. Welcome back. Welcome back to Profit Time here on Turf's Up Radio. So, Daniel, there is some validity to the windy.
Yeah. It's funny because when I went to school, it was always windy up there every single day. And I don't just the geography, it was higher or whatever. I don't know how all that works.
That's kind of interesting.
Every day. And when it was windy, it was really windy.
You know, that's really weird because, like, the airport here is the same way. You can go out there in August or July and there's not air moving anywhere, but you'd go out there to do some stuff, you know, and it's always windy at the airport. And before you guys start texting me, it's not because planes were taking off and the wind that I don't know. Hell, maybe that did have something to do with it. If there's any,
I wonder if there's any like studies done when an airport's built, like, oh, this is good because it is windier and it helps the plane take off.
Yeah, with the lift.
Oh no,
I don't know. It's a good question, but that's a pretty good answer from Matt. Pretty quick, wasn't it? Just
yeah. And actually, that's weird because my head went to planes right away. Of like, not maybe in the next year or 5 years, but like if that becomes a trend, how does that affect air travel? With more, if it's windier, I mean, I know it's like
right
30,000 feet up, it's going to be different than it is, 1,000 feet.
Well, fuel consumption.
That's true. Maybe more higher prices if anything, but
or lower prices if you're going the other way.
Yeah,
no,
doubtful.
Oh, shoot.
You don't get charged. Your car doesn't get charged until they know how much fuel they use. So it could be more, but it could also be less.
Oh, God, that's true.
That sounds
too.
like like one of those, what's the, like a Spirit or something, that what they would do.
Yeah.
Your ticket's $4, but then when you get the fuel surcharge.
I did not tell him to say that, Tabitha, just in case you're listening.
Allegiant or.
Yeah, some of these economy airlines.
Yeah.
Or you pay for a seat belt and back seat and. Oh, Lordy. Mike wants to know if you were a hilltopper.
No.
He said it's always windy down there.
Actually, the opposite direction. I went to northern Kentucky. So
yeah, he was up at northern.
Cincinnati, which I know isn't Cincinnati's on a hill, right?
Yeah, God. Yeah, because you go down the big hill to get into Cincinnati. So I guess technically they would be down, but then when you get on the other side of Cincinnati heading toward Dayton or Cleveland, you're on that upward grade. So maybe it's just downtown that's in a hole.
Maybe.
I don't know.
All I know is when it was windy there, like you had to, like you were fighting the wind to walk. It was so windy. Like
really?
That wasn't an uncommon thing.
Huh. Interesting. Well, maybe it's because you're so light too.
That had part to do with it, for sure. But like,
I mean, I'm sure I could walk along a lot better than you could on a
for sure. But like, you would notice it. You'd be like,
no, yeah,
pushing.
You'd feel it. Yeah,
burning more calories on your walk to class than just a stroll.
Just a stroll up or down. I hear you. But that's pretty interesting. I'm sure Matt will come back with some more info for us next week, for sure. But. Want to give Brad Sturt a shout out for hopping on with us Monday again. And for those of you that may not have been on with us or haven't listened to that podcast, certainly go back and take a listen to that. Brad was talking about insurance and a lot of the confusion that goes along with, I need insurance or I don't need insurance. My personal policy, I take care of it, or, this is why I don't have it. And I don't have signs on my truck, so it don't matter. And he kind of put to bed a lot of those answers for us as contractors.
Yeah, a lot of that too. I mean, that's up on YouTube as well, but also there's going to be a lot of like short content out on that too. So on our Facebook pages and Instagram and YouTube and all that kind of good stuff, you can find that.
So check that out. And Brad was in the Profit Circle with us, actually talked about that. So we got a webinar that he actually did.
2 months ago or
Yeah.
something like that.
So be sure to check that out if you haven't. And for you guys, Daniel, if you wouldn't mind sharing, I don't want to make this a Profits Unlimited Profit Circle advertisement necessarily, but explain to our guys how they can go find that. Because I've had a couple guys reach out to me recently, our new guys saying, hey, how do I get to the content?
Yeah. So all of our exclusive is within the Profit Circle, and you can easily get there. Just go to, if you're listening to this on replay, the link to the website is actually in the podcast description. So you can go there, but you can also go to our main website, which is profitsareus.com. That's profitsrus.com. And on the main page, the home page, when you land on it, there's a button that says the Profit Circle. Just click that button. It'll take you right there, and you can sign up.
There you go. That's that easy. And get in there on your trial time.
And if you're watching this on YouTube, it's also down in the description. So
let's see. Corey said, hopefully he gave the low ballers nightmares so they can raise their prices. I got you. I thought Corey was making a joke since he likes to bake. It says hopefully he gave the low bakers nightmares. So but it probably happens in that industry too. You know, reality. The reality of it is, you know. But hey, one thing I did want to reiterate, and I had a gentleman help me with this years ago, before I even met Brad actually. But is proper classification on your work comp codes, not clothes, sound like clothes. But the reality of that is make sure for you guys that are mowing, and I know a lot of you guys listening to us are mowing contractors, you know, be sure that they've got you in a Parks NOC classification and not landscape gardening classification for your mowing side of your business, because it's a less expensive category. The Parks NOC, it's called Parks NOC 9102. 9102 is the classification code. So be sure to check on that. And I know within a lot of states, I talk about this at any seminar I do. I always started off with that, regardless of what we're talking about, because a lot of contractors are misclassified. And a lot of it goes back to the agents that people are working with don't know what they don't know about our industry. And they put you in landscape gardening because they think it makes sense, but it's a higher rate, and there's no sense in paying a higher rate. Now, the good thing about that is most states will allow you to go back on some of your audits, and that's going to differ from state to state, whether it's 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever, and give you the difference back in premium. So be sure to check that out. So, but classification code is 9102. Be sure that for you guys that are mowing, that's where they got you. So, anything we can do to save somebody some money, right, Daniel?
Yeah,
it's
every little bit.
It all goes back to how to fix your cost per hour of operation. And you know, insurance is it's a necessary evil. You know, the reality of it. Yeah, Craig, glad you're listening to us, my friend. Hope you guys had a great trip. But yeah, we had a really good evening Monday night as well. Craig said he needs to go back and listen to that. Daniel, he was beaching it. So nothing like a good break to do something like that. But
especially this time of year, you know,
yeah,
when where's he?
He's in Charlotte.
Charlotte, yeah. That's this time
area.
of year when you can get away for like even just a few days sometimes and get out.
Yeah,
it can be a real refresher when it's all so busy.
Anyways, I'm looking forward to this weekend rolling around. We'll talk more about that on Friday, but we're going to have a derby party at the house. So, any of you guys listening to us, feel free to reach out if you'd like to swing by. We'd be happy to have you. Um, we always have a good time when we do that. So, but getting back to a more serious note, I wanted to talk a little bit before we hang up the old phone here and hop off the air today about charging for estimates. And we had a pretty in depth conversation around here this morning about it. And I mean, we kick it around, and I understand you guys that are doing, much larger landscapes and landscape design and, things like that. Obviously charging for your estimates. But my question's this: for a smaller service, where you're not doing 50 and 100 and $600,000 jobs, regularly for people, what, and we'll talk a little bit about this too, Daniel, but what are you doing to compensate yourself for that time? I mean, and I really want to know the truth. Other than probably Darren Gruner on here, King Darren.
He's the king.
Yeah, that's why he's the king. And they're doing much larger projects.
Right.
Okay, so I get that. All right. But for you guys that aren't doing that type of project, and for you guys that are like Wayne's Lawn Service, for an example, or even smaller than us or bigger than us, regardless of what side of that pendulum you're on, how many of you all really charge 100% of the time for an estimate? I'm just curious if anybody out there is doing it other than landscape architects.
Yeah.
Are
you specifying in this situation landscapes?
For landscape, lady calls up, or John Q. Public calls up and says, "Hey, I want to get some landscaping work done. I want a few plants put in and some mulch put down." And if that's in your wheelhouse of what you do you 100% of the time charge for an estimate, or do you fill the customer out and see if they're tire kicking, if you will, and then charge for an estimate? Because we've done some of that.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality of it is, the only type of estimate that we charge for 100% of the time is an insurance estimate. Mm-hmm. Outside of that, we try to do our due diligence on the phone to find out if it's a legitimate lead or not.
Yeah. And speaking on that real quick, there's a little blog in the Profit Circle actually about some things that you can do to increase your efficiency with that kind of thing. But I think it's almost a catch-22, because the people that will pay for an estimate are the people that you have a higher percentage of working with anyway, versus the people that you're going to run on and waste your time are probably not going to pay for that estimate. So even the estimate in and of itself might be a deterrent for a lot of those tire kickers. But you also don't want to scare away the potential on the fence person with an estimate fee, or that might be a mindset. You don't want to scare away the person that may be, on the fence about having you do the work or come out to look at it with an estimate fee. So I think, there's so much that goes into it. And like you said, if you're doing a $50,000 job, your competition is so much less. And we were talking about this morning.
You're going to be doing a design probably. And
yes,
that does require a deposit,
right.
Not a deposit on the landscape, but a fee to put that drawing together for somebody.
Yeah, something. There's a lot more that goes into it. Yeah. Maybe that's even something that you can promote within your business of any size, doing any kind of work. Is a like, hey, here's what you're actually getting with our 75 or 150 or whatever your estimate fee is going to be. You're getting a XYZ on the list.
And keep in mind that the estimate fee, like Daniel said, whether it's 75 or 100, 150, that is different than a design fee, which could be 1,000 or 2,000 or whatever based on the size of the job.
Yeah, but you could almost even like sell something within that that estimate fee that would be very low. Like even if it's just the one aspect of, hey, we're going to come out, we're going to price whatever you want us to price right there on the spot for you. Whatever you want to call it.
Just the
Describe it
X's
as.
and O's kind of thing.
Yeah,
Hey,
we could do an X's and
we
O's
need
drawing
10 of
for
those,
you, or
and
we could, hey, we can talk about different services, and that's going to be part of our estimate fee. You're going to get,
right.
Here's some things you're actually going to get for that. Even if it's things you're already doing, if you list them out as perks to paying that fee, then it's like, oh, I'm not just giving them $75 or $150 or whatever. This is what I'm getting for that.
This is what you get for it. So try to put some value to the fee they're paying, other
Yes.
than just
hey,
well,
we're
I'll
coming out.
show up
Yeah,
kind of
you're
thing.
paying me to come out.
You're paying me to come out. Seth makes a point here. He said, I'm going to charge 100% of the time, but have not yet. But I do fill out the customer. And I think that's where we talk about, do your due diligence on the phone. What kind of questions are you asking on the telephone?
Right.
Hey, do you have a budget? What is your budget? When are you planning on, doing this? I mean, there's a set number of questions that you can do over the telephone, to try to figure out, is this a legitimate lead or not? Because a lot of people have no idea when they say, hey, I want a landscape. They don't understand that they're getting into potentially several $1,000s.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that.
They just don't know what they don't know about it. And that don't make them bad or stupid.
Yeah.
Same way I don't know what it would cost to get a roof put on my house.
Right.
I mean, I know it's going to be expensive, whatever expensive is.
Yeah, and even that's different for everybody.
And that's different for everybody too.
Yeah, like $1,500 might be an expensive landscape to somebody, but for, somebody else, that's, a couple thing, that's not a big deal.
Yeah. So he says, it's a bad sign when they say, do you do free estimates? That's a good point as well. Let's see. I'd be lying if I said I charge 100% of the time.
Well, like we were talking about today here in the office, if there's 3 people, let's say 3 companies that I'm looking at to get a specific thing done, I'm actually probably more likely to, if 2 of them don't have an estimate fee, I'm probably going to go with them to get an estimate first, right? Like have a meeting with them first and then go to the estimate company third. So if I'm not satisfied with the other 2, then it's like they're my third string.
Yeah.
And that's something I think to take into consideration. Like, how do you elevate yourself on that list? And I think partially, like I said, adding value to what you're actually giving someone with an estimate is a good way. Or, there's some other maybe ways to do it. But
the only way you would know would be bite the bullet and say, for the next 45 days, we're going to charge everybody X number of dollars,
Mm-hmm.
And then compare that to the same 45-day period next year, because you just couldn't say the next 60 days or whatever.
It's not the same season.
It's not the same season. It's not the same buyer.
Right.
So you'd have to compare time periods to time periods, I think, in order to do fair. Mike said he doesn't charge returning clients. I agree with that.
Yeah.
We don't either. And there's no need to.
Yeah. They're probably serious about going with
you.
They've
called you because you did something for them good the first time around,
And that's the benefit too of having and developing and nurturing a client base, right? Like as much as getting new clients for services, especially one-offs, is necessary to grow your business and, have more income, blah, blah, blah. If you build up that client base, then when things aren't going as well, you still have something to fall back on until things start rolling again. And so that's where doing the things that we talk about a lot here, nurturing through constant contacts or social media or, just the green thumb that we do, those kind of things keep people that you already have that relationship with buying from you when things do slow down a little bit.
Right. And, God, it takes me down a new line. We're not going down that path right now. But, this all came about again for us because I actually asked everybody this morning sitting here, I said, who in here would pay for an estimate? you know, and I honestly was the first one that said, I don't think I would pay for an estimate, not for landscaping, but for anything.
Right.
You know, I feel like I'm going to be able to get enough source in Louisville, Kentucky. Now, I know different areas will have different levels of competition. So this is where maybe being in a smaller area
Could benefit
of people wasting your time. But in Louisville, where you got
infinite number of
an
anything
infinite
almost.
number of, hell, I'd be willing to say there's at least 2,000 registered businesses. That's just the registered ones.
Yeah.
So, you know, you could get an estimate from somebody without paying a fee.
Right.
But if you're in a community that's got
15
15 within a 100-mile area, you're going to have a lot better shot at getting paid for an estimate fee.
Right.
You know,
Especially here's another thing about an estimate fee. What if you included a not well, hey, we charge an estimate fee, yes, but guess what that does? It really it keeps our client list low enough to where you're not waiting 6 weeks. So we're guaranteeing you with this estimate fee that you're going to get serviced within a reasonable period of time.
You're not on a 3-month waiting list.
So maybe that's another selling point. Hey, yeah, you know, what's included in this $150 estimate fee? A guaranteed 3-week, you know, get you done in the next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Or whatever, you know, you can
whatever
fit
time
in.
frame. No, that's a decent idea. Let's see. Craig said I had to abandon the charge for walkthroughs. It's a no-go for customers, even the $15,000 to $20,000 jobs. Instead, I focus more on getting them in the initial phone calls.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. To our point is, let's do your due diligence in the phone call. And like we talked about before on here, is figure out why they don't fit on the telephone.
Right.
Instead of being really happy that they called and, hey, let's set an appointment, let's figure out why they don't fit by asking, hey, when's the last time you've had, landscaping work done? How old is your existing land? Oh, I don't know. I moved in there 20 years ago and it was same stuff here. Well, do you have a budget in place? I think that's a fair question. Somebody says, well, no, I don't. I mean, I have no idea what it's going to cost. And that's where you, as the owner, then have the opportunity to tell somebody, well, this isn't a $500 or $1,000 project you're getting into.
Yeah.
Not landscaping.
Yeah. And I think that's a good thing, even though you might not be able to or want to price a job over the phone. It's good to, I think, give realistic price ranges for certain things.
I mean, it's like, I do it quite a bit with people, what's it going to cost? Well, I don't know without looking at it, but what I can tell you is, in average, just a few bushes across the front, taking some things out, a few, out and a few bushes in and mulch and edge and clean up. I mean, you're $2,000 to $4,000 on average. Oh my God, I didn't realize it's going to be that much.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a lot of money.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are used to looking at plants at Home Depot and Lowe's for $9.99.
Yeah. Or even $49.99 or whatever. And they're thinking, how'd they go from $50 a plant to $4,000?
Yeah.
So I think something else too, and this might not be applicable for the smaller businesses out there listening, but those who can offer financing, I mentioned this morning.
Yeah, we talked about it in our thing this morning.
How do you advertise a $4,000 landscape instead of $4,000 as $200 a month, 0% for the next 12 months? How do you take advantage of someone at the $200 affordability versus $4,000 in one shot?
Somebody's budget that you'll fit into at that level.
Right. And I can definitely relate to this because I just bought a door for $350 a month versus $8,000 at once, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, if they didn't have that option, I'm saying, sorry, you wasted your time on this, call, but you're gonna have to leave now because I can't afford that. So, but when he offered the financing, it's like, oh yeah, we can do that. Let's go ahead and just do that.
No, that's a really good plan, Daniel. That's a really great idea from a marketing perspective. To promote the 0% finance thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it cost us some points to do it.
Mm-hmm.
but there's enough margin built into the landscaping side of our business or the lighting side of our business. Now, we're not going to go out and finance 12 months of mowing for somebody.
Right.
When I say us, not us specifically, it's an outside source that, we use called Green Skies, who we use. But to Daniel's point, not everybody can offer that. I mean, you got to be
Right.
at a certain revenue level and things like that to work with some of those companies. But
there are things you can do
but
within
there
your
are
own
things
business, like 3-month, pay over 3 months or
yeah,
whatever you want to do. Make
get creative on your financing for
Yeah.
somebody, because we did that and still do that for some people. We got a lady that does what 3 or 4 payments every year on our renovation work that we do. But every year that's the way she does it. I can't think of her daggone name, but she does. We set it up on it like you pay when we're done, and then a third, a third, a third. And it works for her, works for us, and everybody's happy, and we get the reoccurring revenue. So it goes back to what are you doing to make it easy for your customers to pay?
Yeah.
But don't use the excuse, well, we're a small company, we can't offer anything like that. No, absolutely you can. You figure out what that money's worth to you over the course of the next 90 days. And if that's 7%, 8%, whatever it is, 10%, then add that to the proposal and make that fit for that customer for you. And you don't always have to have an outside finance company. So that's a great point, Daniel, that you make. But this all came about from a disastrous appointment Kyle had last night. And he thought it was a landscape lead. Sounded like they really wanted to do something. The due diligence was halfway done, I guess we'd say, Otherwise, they'd have had some kind of budget in mind. I don't know. We're really good. Katie's really good at screening people on the phone. But, obviously when Kyle went to see these people, it started out with, well, no, I really just want some sticks picked up. And I mean, why would you call in and say you want landscaping done when I want sticks picked up? I think I've talked about this before, Daniel, and I really do. I think the consumer dangles a carrot out there in front of us. It's kind of like, hey, I want to get a mowing price and I want to get some landscaping done. So you give them the mowing price, and then it's, well, I'm not sure when I want to do the landscaping, but I want to do it later. It's like, how do they get so smart?
I think there's some truth to that, and I think sometimes there's just a lack of information on the consumer end, like we were talking about before, about what things are really called, what things cost, budgets and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. But, we went from Kyle says the first thing was, can we pick up what do you charge to pick up sticks? And then it was, well, my yard's in really bad shape. We just moved here from Owensboro, and, my God, y'all charge that up here to power seat a yard? Well, I don't know. Maybe did you really have your yard power seated in Owensboro is what you want to say, And I mean, it doesn't matter if you're in Owensboro or Pluto. And then it went to, well, what would it cost to get like a border around my kid's place at it? It's almost like they were fishing, and that's not the norm. That is not the norm. But our question, or my question to you guys is, and you guys have answered, a few of you guys, and for you guys that are watching this on podcast, I'd love to know your answer is, do you charge 100% of the time for a landscape estimate? And do you differentiate between the estimate charge and the design charge? That's to the next level. Because we've got some software here that we can take a picture of somebody's house, put the plants in it, show them progression of the plants, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, but yeah, that's not coming free. For free, you're going to get something on, what they call it, graph paper.
Yeah.
And,
and
go
once
from
again,
there.
I think you itemize your benefits to that. So you have something to actually sell instead of just, I'm coming charging you to come out. And maybe, professional plant consultant, or whatever you want to call yourself to give yourself more value or whatever. But um, just have some sort of benefit to just
So is
what
that
the
the
fee
answer to
is.
this whole dilemma then for for the smaller companies that have to wear the sales hat and the production hat and the marketing hat and cuz it all boils down to time, right? How much time we've got to allocate to bidding jobs and doing jobs and billing jobs, and it all boils down to time is what it boils down to. So is is that the answer then?
The itemization or what?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it's the answer, but I think it can help people that are on the fence, that are more like, well, I'm not sure, but maybe, go from that to, okay, yeah, now I can see where, the value
Katie, have
is
you
to that.
decided? Would you pay for an estimate for anything? I mean, she's been thinking about it for 3 hours now. You know,
Yeah. Yeah, that's the way I am.
so
If I know I'm going with that business
her
anyway.
answer was not for sure unless that she thought she was legitimately going to go with that company.
Yeah.
But maybe you don't get the opportunity as a company to get in front of Katie. And something Kyle brought up too today on that line was, specifically within our industry, when somebody says they want to do a landscape, you know, some company may go out there and put a proposal together with 1 gallon shrubs and inch and a half caliber plants or trees. And there, so there's no scope of work involved to dictate, hey, I want 3 gallon plants, 2 inch caliber trees, 20 of these, or you know what I'm saying? So the prices can vary so much.
Right. And part of that too, I think, is the explanation while you're there, and claiming, to be the professional landscape designer, as part, get to meet with a professional landscape designer as part of your estimate fee, benefit. And then that's what that explanation that's when that explanation comes. Like, here's what's going to look best in your house.
Yeah.
Do you think that you're going to
So it
like this
becomes more of
better?
a consulting,
It's more of like, that's part of the benefit. Yeah. Is that consulting
because that's what Mike said. He
aspect.
said he wouldn't pay for it simply for pricing, but he would pay for it as a consultation and design.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the way to sell it.
Yeah. $150 consultation fee.
Consultation and design fee. You know, let's see. Uh, that's how they do it at a mechanic shop. You pay and it goes toward the bill. So yeah, and that's what we do on ours too. That hey, if you go with us, it goes toward the total job. If you don't, then somebody's helped pay for a little bit of the time, that we had invested there. Um, let's see. Mike says, if I got an estimate call like that one, and they asked that man 7 questions, I'd say, why are you, why are you starting a lawn care business? That goes to Mike's point too. A lot of times we do get questions about pricing like that, and it's like, it's somebody in the business or starting a business, looking for some help. But I don't know. I don't. I think it's due diligence on the phone call to try to qualify the lead, and certainly, you know, go with your gut. Go with your gut. But certainly designs we're charging for and things like that. But this one just hit a nerve, I think, with Kyle last night. And he talks to a lot of people, but he just felt like he completely 100% wasted his time last night. And speaking about wasting your time, I mean, when it goes to landscaping, Daniel, just to look at it from a little bit different perspective, the same perspective, but a little bit different. When you're putting a proposal together for a landscape for somebody, I'm curious for you guys out there listening to us, and I'd like to know, what does your proposal look like? does it give approximate number of plants and size of plants, approximate sizing on plants? Because we found many years ago when we started doing that, it gave a whole lot of transparency to our bid to our customers. You know, they were able to do that. There's the world famous Derek Fenwick, but the new, but oh no, it's when somebody calls and says, "Hey, you're higher," then hey, let's make sure we're comparing the same things together.
Yeah,
You
well,
know,
I think if they do call back and say you're higher, that's a win, right? Because at least they're not just being like, "Oh, they're higher," so forget them.
forget them.
That's probably the majority of time.
Something piqued their interest.
Yeah, yeah. So at least you've left an impact in that way.
Right.
That's a big win.
But be sure to describe, in your proposal, what size plants you're using, because people, and the thing is, you got to explain what a 3-gallon shrub is.
Yeah.
A 3-gallon taxus, approximate, or a 3-gallon boxwood, approximately 22 inches.
Yeah, and I think too, even beyond that, maybe some like personalization, maybe not be the right word, but like saying 3-gallon, 22 inches, and then maybe like best fit for your landscape, best fit for your home, best fit for this design.
Make it personal.
Make it make sense to them why, okay, yeah, well, 22 inches, but this other is whatever. What does that really mean to them is that this is going to be the best for you.
Yeah.
So best fit for your landscape or something along those lines that makes it clear that anything else it's not going to be best for you.
Right. We've got a really awesome landscape estimator. I'm not to get you guys to use ours. You don't have to, but it is outstanding and it's very fast and easy to use. It does your proposal to the customer. It does your proposal for you. It's a spreadsheet format. It takes whatever you're doing from a plant standpoint, a tear out standpoint, any new products that you're adding, or mulch, rock, pavers, whatever. It itemizes all that for you. You don't have to make a new list when you sell the job of what you need to pick up. And it also puts the proposal format in 3 different formats for the client. So, for you guys that are doing landscaping out there, if you're looking for something that's easy to use and more professional and does not, everything with one input into the sheet, you build your proposal, and that's your proposal, that's your shopping list, that we call it the shopping list, but what you're going to need from your yard or the nursery, wherever you're getting your materials. And then it also puts it into 3 different formats for your proposal to mail to your customer, whether email or snail mail, however you want to get it there. But check that out. It definitely makes your life a whole lot easier. And then if a customer comes in and wants to make a one line item change, you simply just go to your spreadsheet and change. Hey, well, this is a little bit over my budget. It gives you the opportunity then to go in and say, well, okay, well, instead of using this 2-inch caliber tree, we can go to 1.25-inch caliber tree. And hey, we're doing 9 of them. That's going to save you $600. So, and it's one line item change where you don't have to redo the whole proposal. So, I appreciate you asking about that. So, let's see. And then you do have to give the explanation. Seth says he does this exactly, Daniel. He just describes the plant sizes in person. And I think that's definitely the best way to do it. Mm-hmm. Because when you send somebody out, even though you've got something marked as a 1-gallon or a 3-gallon or a B&B or a 2-inch caliber this, or we're going to install 196 linear feet of this, they don't understand that. You might as well be telling it to them in Spanish or French or German or something. That's a great thing, Seth, and that's why you do a lot of landscaping. You know that we got to speak the customer's language, but what we have found by defining that is when a customer says, hey, well, man, I'd love to use you guys. I mean, you followed up, you got your proposal back to us in time. but you're higher or significantly higher, well, then that's when we can start with them as well. What size plants are they using? They're, because hey, we can adjust plant size if you want to do that, and lower the cost. So it gives you an opportunity then to not get the. And I don't know if this has happened to y'all. Maybe not. Maybe it's never happened to you, but if it hasn't, it will if you do enough. You put a landscape in and they see it and they're like, I didn't realize that's what size plants that we were going to use. Those are too small, or those are too big, or those are too something, whatever. They're too fat, they're too short, whatever. So it is important that from a landscaping perspective, you do take the time to educate the customer. So, yeah, Craig sent the thing of what they sent out, and it does it. It explains it to the customer. Installation of 2 10-gallon emerald arborvitaes, approximate size 4 to 5 feet. Somebody knows what they're getting that away. They don't know, but they do know.
Yeah,
they
know what
it's kind of like
feet
that
is,
guy down. Yeah,
whatever.
They know what 4 feet is versus 2-inch caliper, or it's I don't know. It's like that idiot down here that beat us out of that money that we wanted to go take his landscape out. I can't remember that guy's name, but where he wrote 7-page thesis on why everything he got was not right, and we had the proposal where everything was spelled out in size and quantity, some people you just like to pinch their neck off, pinch their head off. I don't know. I shouldn't have said that. But did any of you guys feel like that sometimes? Just curious. We're on an extended version here. We need to probably hop off for long. But anyways, let's see what Aaron said. Oh, my God. Aaron, he's funny. He said his drawings don't look good enough. He'll never get one. Hey, but they'll come along, buddy. Plus, you said you were going to implement that software that Mike's got. Yeah. So, absolutely. See, there's another great thing that's happened on Turf's Up Radio, right? So, but anyways, with that being said, discussion I had with a fella just yesterday, he didn't want to hear it, but we had the discussion. And that was that diversification is your key to success. And that's just the reality of it. I know Seth said he does very limited amount of mowing, and I'm glad to hear that, Seth. I mean, because mowing is the least profitable thing that you can offer. But on the other hand, it's a good opportunity to stay in front of your client. That's the good side of the mowing, and it's that and also it's the reoccurring revenue that brings about as well. So it's all good. It's all like, hey, it's like, you take some of the good with the bad, and together it makes something really good. But hey, I appreciate y'all's time today. Daniel, I appreciate your input as always. Yes. And we got some interesting things we're going to talk about Friday. We'll probably do some Derby stuff Friday, realistically, now that I'm thinking about it. But hey, we'll have some good core content too. We'll throw something in there. But hey, I appreciate y'all listening. Appreciate you going over with me almost a half hour longer than normal today, because I know your all's time's valuable as well. So we just wanted to kick the old "do you charge for an estimate" thing around again. But hey, appreciate that, Seth. Appreciate you being involved with us. Appreciate all you guys that are in Profit Circle with us. Get in there with us. Help us grow each other's business by leaps and bounds, by surrounding ourselves with like-minded professionals. Appreciate y'all listening to Turf's Up Radio. We will see you Friday. And remember, profit is not a dirty word.